Ready to kick this shit off? Dinner in Hell Band, ladies and gentlemen.
Another big explosion of excitement from this band.
I can't help but share their energy, and they bring the house down every night, so I gotta try.
It's great to see all the people in the seats, but to be honest, when you lock eyes with one of them, it's a little bit uncomfortable because it's like, oh my god, they're staring at me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate their complete devotion to us, but sometimes that kind of admiration can go a little bit too far. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Does that in any way play into what we're talking about here today, Ron?
Because like when I'm, as I sit here and pretty much the majority of the show, I do this show with my eyes shut.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple times where I will open my eyes, say like when a producer comes and goes or assistants or whatever comes in and goes into the booth.
Yeah, just like I generally have my back to the audience.
Yeah, and then that's not like I open my eyes and I'll see these people staring at me, But hey, thanks for coming.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, where we, two amateur historians, talk about history's atrocious underbelly. I am one of your co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, the legendary Ron Maiden. Ron, how are we doing tonight?
We are doing fantastic. It's actually 6 a.m. Whew, 6 a.m. Getting up early. We're dedicated.
We're morning people.
Yeah, we like to create the illusion that it's like dusk.
Mm-hmm.
Like
because of dinner.
Sun's going down. We actually do the taping at 6 a.m.
Yeah, we got breakfast burritos brought in. Good catering.
And then we head to mass, and then we have breakfast with our families.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But today is our episode 31.
Episode number 31.
Come on, you got to have some famous 31s. NBA. 3-point shooter.
I don't know.
Second all time.
We haven't had NBA hour in a while. I don't know.
Okay, on the spot, Brad the Impaler, co-host here of Dinner Now. Famous 31. Small forward, shooting guard, 6'7". Second all-time career threes made. He retired in the last 15 years, probably. Went to UCLA.
Paul Pierce?
Reggie
Miller?
Reginald Miller, 31. Miller. Yeah. So this is the Reggie Miller of our series. Episode 31, we're going to do something kind of recent. I mean, what I'm saying is the actual finale of this episode actually takes place in 1978 in the nation of Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
It's a famous cult. Everyone's probably heard the phrase, "Oh, you're drinking the Kool-Aid," or what do they say?
Yeah.
You say. How do they say it?
You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Perfect.
Meaning, like, you have an unquestioned, like, slave-like devotion to some belief or another.
And the origin of that phrase comes from today's topic.
Yeah, we're about to hit you with that shit if you didn't already know. Some of our younger listeners may have never even heard of this. Right.
You're welcome if this is the first that you've heard of it.
Yeah, so when this is playing in your first grade classroom, pay attention, young ones. You got to learn about history.
And I'm sure today's topic would come up on a Jeopardy question somewhere down the road.
Yeah, and listen, I probably won't say fuck more than like 6 or 7 times during this episode, so it's fine for the little kids.
So today's episode, we'll be discussing the famous or infamous Jonestown Massacre, which was led by a man named Brad?
Jim Jones.
Give it up for Jim Jones, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Stop clapping.
All right, so specifically what we're going to be talking about is really the Jonestown Massacre. And what that is a mass suicide and a series of murders of many, many people in Guyana in South America in 1978 at what was called the People's Temple Agricultural Project. The People's Temple was a religious movement. Started off Christian, wound up being, I guess you would say, Jonesian, because they basically worship Jim Jones. They didn't worship Christ anymore by the end. But it did start out with an extremely strong focus on social justice, and eventually devolved into what everyone who is going to listen to this will understand as a cult.
It was wrapped. It was a lot of it was based on integrating races.
Yeah, a lot of it was based around racial integration and a lot of economic justice and, sort of like rent reforms. They had a soup kitchen at one point that served as many as almost like 3,000 meals a month. And
Jim, from his just years growing up, was always about like, hey, we need to stop this closed-minded racist business.
Yeah, there's a lot about that. You can read a lot about that. His dad evidently was a hardcore Klansman, and Jim wouldn't talk to his dad for like years and years because once during high school he wouldn't let Jim's black friend come into the house.
Son of a bitch.
Now, he was born in the 40s, so this was probably like 1953. Jim was probably an outlier. Like, his dad probably wasn't the weirdo in rural Indiana.
Next thing you're going to be doing, listening to that disco shit.
Yeah.
I'm hardcore Klan.
Well, shit, it would have been like he would have been pissed about him bringing home, like, Chuck Berry records.
God damn.
Who is this fucking Fats Domino asshole?
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the music he would have been angry about. That was like when rock and roll was coming out.
Louie, huh? Think I'm fucking stupid? I know exactly what it means. The FBI investigated it.
See our Twitter feed for further details.
That's a back shadow, because I already tweeted it before this episode came out.
You got to dig through the catalog of solid gold posts to find the good shit that we're talking about right now.
So I'm thinking Jim Jones probably grew up in a nice mansion, silver spoon in his mouth.
No. Jim Jones and his family grew up in a shack in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, with no running water. But even as a youngster, even in such, destitute circumstances, what he would play at was being a preacher. And his favorite to emulate were Pentecostal preachers that he'd seen. And it's like, I don't know if the sort of racial integration aspect of his church sort of drove this, but like if you listen to Jim Jones, he sounds like a black preacher.
He sounds like a showman. He sounds like someone who's putting on a show.
Oh yeah, big time. Like those like fiery preachers you see with like the handkerchief that are like constantly dabbing off their sweat off their foreheads. That's the kind of preaching he was doing.
Well, how do you know black preachers don't sound like Jim Jones?
Because they were around before he was.
That's like a Dewey Cox joke. How do you know Bob Dylan doesn't sound like Dewey Cox?
I haven't seen that movie in way too long. It's really good, though.
Yeah. So he grew up in a shack without running water. He grew up in a shack with dirt floors.
Yeah, it was literally like, when I say the word shack, I'm not trying to be insulting. It was a shack. And he would pretend to be a preacher. His childhood neighbors, he didn't have friends. There really wasn't anybody, I think, that could stand to be around him that long. But his childhood neighbors recall him putting on funerals for, like, squirrels and stuff that would die in the neighborhood.
And the roadkill.
Yeah. And it sounds, like, really sweet and adorable until the same childhood friends also recall him stabbing the neighborhood cat to death.
Stabbing a cat to death. So far, we've only had the loss of cat life. This episode.
And I guess it'll kind of stay that way for a while, but it's not going to stay that way forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's going to be dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah, and you'll see this kind of bizarre contradiction continue throughout Jim Jones's life, because he was ultimately responsible for a lot of people's deaths, and he definitely did it on purpose just because, like, that was his end game. It's what he wanted to do. But at the same time, throughout his life, like, he did awesome shit, too. Like, he integrated all kinds of places. He helped a lot of people, but that cat stabber in him definitely never went away. That'll come back in a big way.
So you're this person that is charismatic and has people following him and listen to his word and living by his codes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also stabbed Cat to death willingly as a child. Like,
yeah.
You just never know who the freak you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, I think I read somewhere that over the course of your life, you'll pass by 16 murderers. Or at least, like, that's what the average person is can expect.
Be honest with me right now, since it's just you and me here.
Yeah. And the studio audience and our millions of listeners at home around the world.
All right, close your eyes. Now it's just you and me.
Mm-hmm.
The sound of my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever killed a person? Swear it.
No comment.
No comment. Nice.
No, I've do clowns count as human beings? Because I guess it's up for debate, but we're under maritime law out here.
Did he die? I know you impaled him.
Again, no comment. That is a pending situation, but I'm pretty sure I'm in the clear because the last time I checked, clowns weren't people.
I think the clown you killed. There was an episode where Brad killed a clown. I'm not sure how you're going to find it, but you'll have to just listen.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. It's probably like past episode 15 at least if you want to start looking. But
yeah, if anybody kicks up a fuss, we'll have to put like a disclaimer at the top, like, no actual clowns were harmed in the making of this episode.
I mean, he was impaled, but I mean, it was we asked him how he wanted to be impaled, and he described it, so we met his needs.
Yeah, or maybe it was, like a romance novel. I'd used other words way too many times, and my last trip to the thesaurus brought us impaled.
Jim Jones eventually got married as a young man.
He did?
And he and his wife were the first white couple,
mm-hmm.
white Anglo-Saxon, no, I'm just kidding, but white couple to adopt a black child.
Yeah.
Jim Jones.
Uh-huh. Yeah. First one.
That was like me and Brad
breaking down boundaries. He also adopted 2 children of Korean descent.
Before it was super popular, Jim Jones and his wife Donna. I'm just kidding.
Her name was Marceline.
Him and his wife Marcy, Jim and Marcy. They were the first ones to adopt a black baby before freaking
it became a cool thing to do.
Brad and Angelina came in and was like, I'll take 6 of them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a legitimate, kind of monumental moment.
Yeah, back then.
And he did that, and he also was an evil, murdering cult leader.
Cat stabbing little kid, don't forget.
Yep, that never goes away. It never goes away.
Adolescent cat killer.
Now, when he grew up, when he became an adult, after he got married, he did start in preaching. He did a stint as a student pastor at an Indianapolis Methodist church, but he left after only a few months because he couldn't get the congregation to agree to integrate racially. It was an all-white church.
That doesn't fit with Jim's views.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't jive with Jim.
After, kind of washing out of the Methodist church because they wouldn't get on board with the social justice, he founded his own church. He was able to do this because he hosted a big revival in Indianapolis at the Cade Tabernacle with sort of the most prominent televangelist of that period of time.
Cade Tabernacle sounds like it'd be an awesome fish and chips restaurant. You gotta go down. What? You want fish? You gotta go down Cade Tabernacle.
Yeah, it's down by the dock. Most tourists don't know about it.
You get a basket of perch, lake perch, or cad. You get some cad. It's whatever, man. I mean, go to Cade Tabernacle. Check it out.
Yeah, oh, sounds good.
They have a feller playing guitar out there on the deck when you sit
got,
outside.
Hush Puppies.
Yep.
Yeah, well, so 1955, Jim Jones founds the church that will become the People's Temple. And, you know, his social activism continued too. In 1960, Jim Jones was actually appointed to the Human Rights Council in Indianapolis.
Wonder what President frickin' Kennedy was thinking then. He was like, congratulations to this man. I'm just kidding.
Well, had it been a little bit later in the timeline, we will see presidents come into this story.
I was just showing off my knowledge of presidential years. 60 was Kennedy. Check it. See if I'm wrong. Try me.
As we all know, we know you're not. Because you're Ron Maiden, king of presidents.
Anybody want to try me? Tweet at us the year, and I will respond with the president that year within the day.
Yeah, within 24 hours, you will get a firm response.
Try it. Hashtag dinner, presidential challenge. Chance for dinner with Ron Maiden.
Yeah. If you can stump the Maiden.
Yeah. U.S. presidents, by the way.
No, like Bangladesh shit.
Mm-mm.
We don't know that. So 1961 is when already the temple starts going bananas. He gave a speech at the temple about an oncoming nuclear holocaust. Yeah. Which, I mean, isn't it a completely unreasonable fear in 1961? But he was like, it's definitely going to happen. I know, because I'm a prophet. Like, that's the first time that kind of shit starts coming out of Jim Jones's mouth.
He's like, listen, the dude was the drug user.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
He probably took that freaking Quaalude business like religious experience.
Yeah, it's hard to say when he got on all the drugs, but he definitely did at some point, and it may have been now.
He's like putting Chuck Berry records on, slowing it down to like 78. Freaking tripping out on LSD.
All kinds of whatever weird like 50s drugs were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 62, Jones reads an Esquire article that lists a town in rural Brazil called Belo Horizonte as a safe place from nuclear war. Why? I can't say. We have a crack research team here at Dinner in Hell, but in the limited time that I gave them, they were not able to track down the 1962 run of Esquire for us.
I got info.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
That might save a couple firings.
I have a source in the Pentagon. I'm not going to say hers or her name.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that if you were to select blast radiuses of nuclear bombs,
mm-hmm.
And like you look at what would be, maybe targets around the globe,
mm-hmm.
like let's say Miami, Cuba might be a target, so like you take all the blast radiuses and then you make a circle, and then the parts that aren't covered, that's where you build your people's temple of agricultural.
Yeah, and evidently that's one little tiny weird off the map, off the beaten track place in Brazil. That's the best place.
Yeah, so like it's just far away from like
Rio
de Janeiro and Sao Paulo. It's like, and it's also far from like Chile and like Argentina and like Colombia. Colombia. That's how they figured it out. But he's on his way.
Awesome. Yeah,
he's taking a plane ride to the city.
Yep, Jones and the Jones fam go down to Brazil to check it out. And they do stop in Guyana on the way. So I suppose this is probably the true, or he might have even formed the plan now.
He's like, forget Brazil. Guyana is where it's at.
Yeah, and in his mind, he might already be cooking up the everybody dies part, too.
He's like, this would be a great place to poison, like, a group of 400. Just kidding. I'm not sure on I haven't learned the amount yet. I have to wait for Brad to tell me.
Yeah, you'll get it. So him and the family go down there and they plan to start a temple location right there in Belo Horizonte. But they don't quite have enough resources to make it happen, so they wind up returning to Indiana. Now, this is where shit really gets crazy for the People's Temple and Jim Jones. So he originally seems like this benevolent preacher who, you know, was trying to integrate restaurants and churches and shit like that.
Yeah.
And the cat stabber really rises sort of back to the surface.
Oh, the awful.
Yeah, when he gets back to Indiana, he tells the congregation that like the entire world will be consumed in a nuclear holocaust on exactly July 15th, 1967. On top of that, they need to move to the middle of nowhere near Ukiah, California.
That's northern Cali, right?
Yes,
Right.
it's about a 2.5, 3 hour drive north from San Francisco.
Wonder how far it is from Mountain View, California.
We do love Mountain View, California. Also,
How about rural England? We've been getting some activity from that region.
yeah, tons,
Welcome aboard.
tons of plays in the last little while here.
And by the mid 70s, there were numerous temple locations in California, correct?
Absolutely. Once the People's Temple hit the West Coast, got a hit of that California sunshine, they grew like crazy. By the mid-70s, they had 4 temple locations in California, and their membership was, at its peak, higher than 20,000.
I don't know if this is correct or not, but I believe Tom Cruise was one of the original founding fathers of it when it first blew up in Cali.
Shh. We're going to get picked up by the boat people and taken off to ocean jail.
Madonna and Tom. We're going to get sent to Leper Island in Hawaii.
So they wound up moving the main temple headquarters to the city of San Francisco. Once he got a taste of like real influence, he wasn't comfortable sitting off in the middle of nowhere anymore. He had to come to the big city where he could be like a real mover and shaker, which he was. People's Temple, before things went south, was very influential, as was Jim Jones. He had high enough of a profile that he wound up having regular meetings with the First Lady then, which would help me with that, Ron. Who was the First Lady then?
That would have been Carter's wife. That would have been Rosalind.
Rosalind, yep, that's it. Rosalind Carter.
Mm-hmm.
He also held plenty of meetings with vice presidential candidate Walter Mondale.
Yeah, I'm not good on vice presidents. That's your thing.
Yeah, I'm the vice president junkie. Some people call me a vice presidency wonk.
I call you vice president snob, not
Yeah.
to your face, but like behind your back mostly.
To be honest with you, I kind of judge you for not knowing your vice presidents.
That's fine.
But that's what, that's the stir that, stirs a drink.
That's how it works between me and Brad. He knows vice presidents. I know presidents. It's like that's our little jigsaw puzzle connector.
Perfect symbiosis.
Yeah. Together we know everything.
Yeah, so the temple is big time in California in the 70s. They're all over the place. They got shitloads of people, if you'll forgive me for using the expression,
Shit.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
But in 1977, the happy fun times for the People's Temple were beginning to come to an end. This is sort of really like the first domino. And a San Francisco Chronicle reporter, talked to a bunch of people who had left the temple and some people who were still kind of fringe members of the temple about their experiences. And from correlating those, he wrote an expose that basically detailed sexual, psychological, and physical abuse that was going on within the People's Temple.
Torment, fear-inducing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume most of our listeners have a general sort of working knowledge of how cults function. And as you know, there's the cult of personality. The cult only works if the leader of it is this wild, sort of dynamic character.
Look in my eyes, what do you see?
Cult
A personality. Gin, 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 gin. Gin and gin, gin, gin. Gin, 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 gin. What's the name of the guitarist?
I have no idea.
Vernon Reed.
Vernon Reed.
I also have a knowledge of like 80s band members. But yeah, I can name one member from any 80s band that's a rock band. Cult of Personality.
We'll play that game later.
Cult of Personality. Where were we before we busted out freaking Living Color?
Flock of Seagulls.
No, I meant rock band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Grim Reaper.
I meant non-bands that don't have Reaper in the name. Rock bands, though.
Rat.
Oh, please. Bobby Blotzer, Juan Krauscher, Warren DeMartini, Stephen Piercy.
Stephen Piercy would have been the only one I could have said.
Yeah, Blotzer on drums, Juan Krauscher, I think on bass. Warren DeMartini was like the bone earring guitarist with the bone earring.
All right, now this clue is, I'll give you half of it in the name.
Is it Van Halen?
No. Enough.
Oh, his name is like Jeff's Enough.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
They're just normal. It's like Steven's Enough.
Yeah, Rick's Enough.
That always cracked me up.
Yeah.
You're gonna have you're gonna all be enough. But
yeah.
All right, that's probably enough of the 80s guessing game. You've proved it with your Rat knowledge off the top of your head. Rat's relatively obscure, I guess.
If you don't know what Rat is, look up Out of the Cellar on YouTube, full album.
See, or just if you don't want to invest in a full album, I'd recommend the song Body Talk.
Come on, Round and Round.
Body
That's the
Talk.
jam.
Body Talk was awesome, and that's
Talk.
Body Talk got me into Rat because it was in the Eddie Murphy film The Golden Child. And I watched that movie on HBO about 10,000 times when I was a little kid.
What about this one? She wants... Wait. You're in love. You're in love. There's a song. You're in love.
I can't place it.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of good Rat songs. Okay.
Well, so San Francisco Chronicle reporter writes this expose, but Jim Jones, super influential, right? So he's got friends at the Chronicle Reporter, and they won't print this shit. That's how much sway Jim Jones has. Is he's got a paper that's got people with a writer with people willingly to openly accuse Jim Jones of like basically raping them.
Abusing the kids, like disciplinary, like really strict, hard-ass discipline.
Like you can't even call it. It's straight up abuse. I mean, like you can't even really call it discipline. Like he was like sexually humiliating people and beating them.
So this person writes this article, turns it into his editor. The editor reads it and goes, well, hold on, let me get Jim on the phone here.
Yeah,
hey, Jim.
The Jim Jones? I don't think so.
Let me get Jim on the phone here.
Hello?
Yeah, is this Jimmy?
Yeah, it is Jim Jones.
Hey, this is Dwight over here at the old magazine here, and I got a reporter here talking about you're doing some abusing down there at the old agricultural temple.
You know the People's Temple has never done any kind of injustice to the people. You know, Jim Jones and the People's Temple. I don't abuse nobody.
Mr. Jones, I need you to be honest with me right now. Are you wearing sunglasses right now? That's how I picture you.
I am wearing sunglasses. It is nighttime and I am indoors. This does not affect me. Jim Jones, I have taken all of your sins on me so long. I've taken all your sins on me so long. I can barely stand it anymore. That's why I wear the sunglasses. To save my eyes from the shame of all of you sinners out there.
They say it's suicide. It's not suicide. It's denying them
the opportunity to tell us how to die. We can retain that choice for ourselves. How to die with dignity whenever we want. It's
And
revolutionary suicide.
death today would be better than 10 years in what they think is called society.
Society. That's one of the words that Triumph's helped me to get his impression.
Yeah.
Society.
I called Brad. It's like, hey man, what are you doing? And all he's sitting there doing is listening to Jim Jones speeches.
It was not pleasant.
I'm working on society right now. What's up, man?
Yeah.
That's my Brad impression.
You don't get my lisp right. Well, so anyways, the paper rejects the shit out of the story. So he takes it on over to a magazine. And the magazine does print it. But, when they contact Jones, when they're like, hey, man, like, this shit's going to happen. It's going to press. So, like, do you want to respond? His response was to not respond, but to say, all right, everybody, if we want to survive this nuclear war, we have to immediately all move to Guyana in South America and build this new... like our new paradise, our new commune.
And you know it's coming. Why? Because I said it is.
Yep.
67.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So after they make that decision, plans are that were already in motion kind of get sped up.
Yeah.
Now the thing is he absolutely was abusing the members of the temple. It's not like a matter of like opinion. Is definitely happening. He for whatever reason would decide to call himself the only true heterosexual.
Get over here, mister.
Yeah, I'm gonna like prove to you how bad being gay is by performing sexual activities with you in front of the entire temple.
Yeah. Everyone gather around. Turn on the spotlight.
I'm not gay. This is all just for his benefit. I don't want to do this. He needs it, so I have to. But I only like women.
And we will do this method over and over until I feel that you are cured of your sickness.
Yeah, sort of like Mike Pence thinks he can electrocute people out of being gay now. For the record, and I don't think this shouldn't be controversial, but I think we can say Dinner in Hell comes down on the side against electrocuting gay people because they're gay.
Yeah, I'm not for that. I'm for the good in people.
Yeah, I think that should be an uncontroversial stance. So if you have a problem with it, go fuck yourself.
I just have a problem saying anyone's name. I don't want their name said on our show.
Yeah. So after Jones arrived, the initial People's Temple agricultural project set up in Guyana was, kind of tough because they were just getting it started, but it seemed like, a relatively peaceful, perfectly egalitarian, kind of nice place to live. Their schedule, they'd work 5 days a week from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then the rest of that was their like free time where they would, sort of pray, have fun, cook, eat, that kind of stuff.
We're talking about the temple?
Yep.
I thought that they had to study or like learn.
Oh, that was after he got there.
Oh, after the temple's built and everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in 1978, when he arrived, there were only 500 people there initially building the settlement. Now, when he arrived, he reduced the working hours to 8 hours a day.
Nice.
But he also added 8 hours of basically Jim Jones talking at you afterwards.
No one leaves.
Yeah, no one could leave.
There were when they would meet in a circle and gather, there were like men with rifles standing around the perimeter of the group.
Yeah.
With their guns pointing toward the group, not like outside the group, like security. Like everyone's staying in here.
Yeah, that became pretty clear shortly after when people were like, "Hey, I'm really glad to participate in this, but it's time for me to go back to San Francisco." And he's like, "No, it's not."
Anyone else?
I'm Jim Jones, and I say, it's not time for you to go. It's time for you to stay.
You need to take that thought. You need to ball it up like a little tiny ball of aluminum foil. You need to toss it in a little trash can of a mind of yours.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, you would say some shit like that too. Yeah. So also on the weekends, he would hold constant, like, unremitting schedule of Jim Jones, like, seminars and discussion sessions and, like, self-criticizing sessions. So after he got there, it was basically nonstop, like, Jim Jones in your face, like, fucking with your mind 24/7.
He would do. Is our temple built yet? Are we there?
Yep.
He would do like sirens, sound the alarm, and meaning everyone had to gather, and he would do like an announcement, white knight. And that meant like everybody, that's go time, Mayday, like bombs, they're gonna bomb us.
Yeah, it's like
But he would do that once in a while just to like keep people like mentally like distraught and like, oh, he's protecting us, we're safe.
Yeah, you know what? Because
psychological.
During this period of time, he started to get increasingly paranoid.
Why is that?
Well, it was because he was completely jacked 24 hours a day on amphetamines and pentobarbital to go to sleep, Valium, LSD, and Quaaludes. That's how Jim Jones was able to like preach nonstop to these sad people.
Isn't Valium, LSD, and Quaaludes known as the gateway to pot?
Yes, it is. It's really dangerous. You might, dabble a little bit in
Valium.
amphetamines or Valium, but you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because once you start taking that pentobarbital, you are only one step away from injecting like 2 or 3 marijuanas directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah,
that will change you forever.
You'll be on the pot in no time, so stay away from LSD, kids.
Yeah. Yeah, so that cocktail of like nightmare of drugs is what sort of kept him trucking all that time. And it's also at this period of time that he accepts the title of demigod. Like, they worship Jim Jones as a god. Like, he starts calling, like, Christianity is a throwaway religion. Like, he starts criticizing. This is probably the most impressive thing about what he did to me. Is he took a bunch of hardcore Christians and was like, none of you are going to be Christian anymore. And they're like, totally.
Yeah, I want to be Jonesy.
Like, instantly on board with that. Like, Jesus, abandoning that shit, done. Like, that is no mean feat. People like to keep their religions once they have them.
I wonder if that's how Jesus Jones got his band name. Right here, right now, watching the world wake up from history's atrocious underbelly, dinner in hell. See how we did that? It's called a mashup. Check it out. We just went to a mashup website as a web clinic, webisode clinic we watched together to save money. So he's a demigod.
Yep. I think, they call him Dad. It's funny. Really weird. And I guess, I wasn't even sure if I was going to mention it because it might be gratuitous, but it is interesting. There is a 44-minute audio recording of the culmination of this, where you can hear all the people be like, "Thanks, Dad. We love you, Dad."
Oh, I thought he was going to be like, "My name's Dad now."
Yeah. Oh, no. This was going on before this all sort of wraps up.
Whatever, Jim. No, you call me Dad now. Okay, Jim.
Yeah, like he's their stepdad, like they're bitter about it.
I want to be called Butch. No one calls me that. So screw you. Someone's gonna.
I want to be T-Bone.
Whoever doesn't call me Dad can go in that barn over there where they can sit Indian style and wait for company to go in there and talk to them.
Yeah, I think if he says call me Dad, you better call him Dad.
Like when he brought up people that wanted to go back to San Fran, I just imagine him going, yeah, no, it's no problem, yeah. Mm-hmm. Go in the car. And then they just go dump him in the jungle, like Guyana jungle. Yeah,
so the drugs are fueling the shit out of his paranoia at this point too, and he constantly believes that the FBI and the CIA are like right on top of him, like ready to make their move and like ride in or whatever and attack.
Yeah.
And he tells this to the inhabitants of the People's Temple Agricultural Project.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
It's like his main topic.
Fear-inducing, like we
yeah.
mentioned from one of the things that the reporter brought up.
Yep. And that's when the revolutionary suicide kicks in. He would also do things to stoke this among the population, like fake assassination attempts on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really...
Told you.
What's really kind of funny about the whole thing is nobody was coming after him.
Right.
Basically, everyone still kind of thought the People's Temple was all right.
Yeah. But,
like, the expose didn't hit that hard.
And it never got out, right?
The magazine printed it, but, I mean, maybe since it wasn't in the paper, they were able to kind of bury it. Maybe it was a smaller magazine, but it didn't seem to have a huge, like, national impact. Like, he could have just stayed in California, and he probably would have been fine.
They're like, what happens in Guyana stays in Guyana.
Mm-hmm. And he said once the FBI or the CIA get you, they're going to torture you, too.
So you're best off just taking into your own hands there.
Mm-hmm. Now, you brought up these white knight exercises that Jones would conduct. And this happened at least 3 times in the middle of the night. Sirens go off. The entire congregation of people wakes up. And they're told that they're being imminently invaded by the CIA or the FBI or whatever shadow organization he had invented. And he offers them 4 choices. He offers them the choice to attempt to flee to the Soviet Union. The second choice is to commit revolutionary suicide. The third is to stay and fight. And the fourth is just to drop everything and run off into the trees.
Yeah, if you want to go free, you can, but you're going to go free into endless jungle.
Yep, so he offers them these choices. And twice, the result of a vote amongst the congregation resulted in revolutionary suicide. So at this point, almost everybody in the temple believes that this is really happening, especially on the first white night, you know?
Yeah.
They believe this is really happening. So he has everyone line up, all 1,000 inhabitants of the People's Temple, and drink a small glass of red liquid each.
You're like, this is the last drink of Kool-Aid you're ever going to have, so take it in.
Yeah.
Let it wallow in your tongue. Enjoy it.
Now, the expression says Kool-Aid, but what it actually was a British knockoff of Kool-Aid called Flavor Aid.
There you go. See, Brad the Impaler, one thing that you may not know about this little fun fact tidbit is he's a freaking Kool-Aid snob. He doesn't drink Welch's. Doesn't drink nothing but freaking Kool-Aid. So when it comes to Kool-Aid...
If you don't drink enough Kool-Aid to just be able to feel how much sugar goes into it, I don't even fuck with you.
Yeah, he doesn't deal with Flavor Aid British bullshit.
Yeah.
Hello, Britain.
but that was because Guyana at this point in time was still a British colony. Not an independent nation.
Got it.
So, anyways, they all drink the red liquid, and then he tells them that's poison, and all of you will be dead in 45 minutes.
Yes, if you want to grab like a nice blanket and pillow and just make yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
Do that.
And then 45 minutes goes by, nobody dies, and then he tells them, like, yeah, I gotcha. You got punked.
Hey,
yeah, Ashton.
It's me, Jim.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Ashton Kutcher comes out, like,
yeah.
Or you know what?
See right there, there's cameras
everywhere. We got you.
Yeah, glasses. He's got these weird thick frame glasses because there's a camera on the frame.
That tape of the final event when this occurs for real is actually just like the worst prank show episode of all time.
God damn it! It's like Faces of Jackass.
Like today on Impractical Jokers, we poisoned some people.
Watch as we put cyanide in a syringe and have children drink it.
Oh man. Yeah.
You did you talk about how many inhabitants total were in Jonestown?
Yeah, there was a little less than 1,000.
Do you know how many were children?
I do not. Do you?
30 children were born in Jonestown.
Yeah, so there was probably a lot more than 30.
Right. There was like 60, but 30 were born there. Just think like they built this place and they just cleared the forest and built a freaking place that's able to deliver babies, sustain life.
Yeah, for like 1,000 people.
In the middle of nowhere, these guys like made it happen.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, and this will come to play in sort of the final story, but all they had was an airstrip. Like there wasn't shit around there.
Could you imagine, like, if you had, like, a group that big of people that were like-minded as you, oh, and you had that set up, and that's how you lived? Like, oh, some people are in charge of getting meat. Some people are in charge of tending the crops. Some people are in charge of making the music that entertains us.
And everybody gets to share in the prosperity of the society.
And it's in like the upper region of Brazil, like close to the equator, so it's beautiful.
Yep. It fosters like an incredible sense of a connected community.
Yeah.
You know what?
Have babies there and they grow up there.
Yeah, if you strip the religion out of this, it sounds like the worst idea ever.
I mean, it sounds so awesome. You could probably like have like rich people like invest in it. And then
oh no, that wouldn't be allowed.
You take that money and you pay like the Flaming Lips to come play. Like you have some artists come and play.
Oh, I bet
Kanye.
you there'd be plenty of good bands that would want to live there, like like Rage Against the Machine,
Kendrick Lamar.
He
could perform there.
Run the Jewels would be in there.
Yeah,
they're killer.
Like philanthropists.
Refused would probably like hanging out there. The punk scene at this place would probably be very good.
Don't hate on rich people donating, dude. You ever heard of Sam Simon? The guy who created The Simpsons?
I liked where you said
he's rich.
I like where you said take the money, but I didn't like the donate part.
Yeah. Like there's people out there that like believe in like good shit and they just like throw money at it. They should invest in our show first and foremost. Do you know how much it costs for us to get calendars made? Come on, we need a Kickstarter for our calendar mug set.
Yeah, so 45 minutes goes by, nobody dies, no invasion. This happens twice. They get punked twice, but it's not as funny. Well, it might be as funny as Punked was.
Not as funny.
I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have taken a shot at it like that, but low-hanging fruit happens from time to time.
Back in 78, that was probably hilarious.
It was probably cutting edge. Like Andy Kaufman would have done something like that.
Yeah, it's like they're just getting over like beheadings still.
Yeah, this is just avant-garde comedy. So he's holding these drills, and he's clearly implanted the idea of revolutionary suicide in these people's minds. And it is clear that he had this plan for a lot longer than 1978. And we know that because in 1976, Jim Jones gets a jeweler's license. Jim Jones didn't ever made or sold or repaired jewelry. But what he did with that jeweler's license is buy cyanide.
Okay.
Because cyanide is a chemical that's its legitimate use is cleaning jewelry.
Okay.
Yeah. So he gets this jeweler's license probably through some crooked government connection and then uses it to buy like a pound of cyanide a month for the next 2 years.
So if you're a killer out there and you're wanting to learn anything from our show, it's you got to get a jeweler's license to get cyanide.
Yep, that's how you get cyanide.
Or rob a jeweler. There you go.
So they start getting real sketchy too. People escape Jonestown from time to time. They slip through like the armed guards and just get out of there. But the thing is if you do that, Jim Jones wouldn't give you your kids back.
Nope.
So there were a few custody cases, and that was actually one of the things that would eventually drive an investigative visit to Guyana by the U.S. government.
It was a congressman, right?
Yep. Jones was running the place like a tyrant, so Congressman Leo Ryan came to visit with some journalists and some sort of like concerned family members of cult members who were there.
Mm-hmm.
and they visited it. Ryan really got interested because he was friends with the father of a temple member who just happened to be murdered 3 days after having a recorded telephone conversation about the temple. And he was murdered in California.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Ryan heard about that, and that's when he was like, okay, and there's all these other like concerned people starting to speak out, like, okay, I'm a congressman. I'm going to go down to Guyana and visit Jim Jones, who everybody says is this great guy, and we're going to clear all this up, and we're going to see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. Mm-hmm. Go down there and see what's doing.
Yeah, there is evidence that Jones had attempted to put on like a show to convince the visitors that everything was fine, even though he jerked them around like crazy when they came around. And, you know, not everyone that wanted to could come. There was Ryan, his lawyer, some journalists, a couple government officials, and the concerned family members. Confirmed eventually by investigators through like the aftermath on audio tapes that they found is how they knew that he had, you know, made rehearsals. Like, okay, like now when they show up, you're going to be here working on this, you know, plot of land, and you're going to be waiting to take the car around, and better fucking smile, like shit like that.
Yeah.
He tried to like plan the whole thing out so that everything would look like it was no problem there at Jonestown.
I gotta say, your Jim Jones impression's really gotten like weaker as the shows went on. That last impression there, like.
I was just talking.
I'm just
Whoops.
kidding.
I should have done it though. You're right. That's a good criticism.
Put a smile on that face.
Yeah.
Turn that frown upside down. You hear?
Pull that car around. Oh God damn it! Where's my meth?
My meth?
He was on amphetamines all day long.
I didn't know if you said meth or mother.
Oh,
Where's my mother?
he did love his mother. Though.
Get my mother now. Okay, so family members.
Yeah, so 11 temple members, the morning that Ryan arrives, they sort of sniff danger, I guess, because 11 people escape first thing in the morning, like first light, they're ducking out underneath the wire and they're getting out of town. So 11 people did escape that morning. The illusion that Jones had tried to set up was broken immediately when several whole families and a few individuals, like as soon as Congressman Ryan got into the camp, they were like, "Hey, take us home with you, please. We want to go. We want to leave. Can we go with you?" Yeah, they sort of stepped out of there, and he was like, "Okay, sure. Yeah, you totally can."
Also, they would secretly slip notes to like the journalists and other people, like, "Please pick me. You know, take me with you." Like, on the sly.
Mm-hmm. But overall, it wasn't that many. It was only a few. And Jim Jones said, "Absolutely, if you want to leave this beautiful paradise that we've created, go ahead. By all means, you can leave."
Yeah.
And then he'd say that in front of the congressman, but the second he was in a different room, he'd be like, "These traitors, they are tearing the temple apart from within. They're awful. They're awful people." So because of the people who wanted to come back, additional aircraft had to be summoned to handle, all of the additional passengers, since there was, a bunch of people that wanted to leave. When they were leaving, they made it to the airstrip, but unfortunately, the planes weren't there yet. And a sort of plant that was with the defectors but was absolutely still loyal to Jim Jones was with the group that got driven to the airfield. And once they got onto a couple of the planes, once they got there, he pulled out a handgun and started opening fire inside the plane, shooting at anybody he could.
The plan was to shoot the pilot.
At this point in time, too, a group of temple members came out of the jungle in jeeps and also attacked the planes.
Yeah.
All in all, this attack that the temple launches that sort of seals their fate at least for Jim Jones himself in his mind, results in 11 injuries and 5 fatal shootings, including the congressman himself who died right there on the airstrip.
Who was protected by U.S. government law.
Yep.
Not at that location, at that particular time.
And the real interesting thing is from people who had, overheard him before he got shot, is he was going to give basically a positive report to the United States government about the People's Temple.
Yeah.
14 people wanted to defect out of the entire population.
Yeah.
He didn't think that was that bad.
Yeah.
None of the people that he had come with a specific desire to speak to, where concerned family members were like, my brother is he doesn't belong there. He wants to come home. Ryan would be like, do you want to come back to the United States? And they'd be like, nah, I love it here. Yeah. And the people are brainwashed, but there's nothing you can do about it. If you're like, hey, would you like to leave? You can come with me right now. And they're like, no, I love it here. I don't want to go anywhere. So, all you can kind of do is take that at face value if you're Congressman Ryan.
He's like, we get free Kool-Aid every quarter.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually a quote from him was, even if you had 200 plus people that wanted to leave out of, the 900 and change that were here, I'd still say you have a beautiful place here.
Nice. Like Mr. Miyagi's backyard.
Yeah.
It's all wooden decks and shit.
I'd love that. But that's what Congressman Ryan said to Jim Jones. So, Jim knows that the guy's going to give a positive report about Jonestown.
Oh, yeah. It's been a pleasant experience, my time here, Mr. Jones. Thank you for having me in my company.
Yep. And
safe travels, Mr. Ryan.
After the group that launched the attack returns, that's when Jim Jones informs
the
population.
White Knight.
Yeah, the real one starts.
The pilot has been killed. Congressman Ryan is dead.
Yeah, and he tells everybody what happens, and it's this whole I know I won't name the man who pulled the trigger because every one of us pulled the trigger. By the end, his drug shit was getting way worse too. He was slurring and stuff.
Tomorrow they're going to be parachuting in, and they're not going to let our children live. So let's not give them the decision.
Yeah, he talks about giving justice to the congressman and shit like that. He makes it a noble act of war.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as clear cut as other cult things that have happened or that you might imagine, though, because there was sort of this illusion of egalitarian, everybody's equal in Jonestown, even though everybody knew everybody was equal except Jim.
Yeah, the only true heterosexual.
Yeah, the only true heterosexual. We should make it a t-shirt. Just Dinner in Hell logo. Photo of Jim Jones with a joint in his mouth and
no joint,
rainbow
he
sunglasses.
Didn't mess. He didn't muck with pot.
Oh, he didn't get that hardcore.
No,
you're right.
He's did hits of acid and shit.
But put the sunglasses with the reflection of a palm tree and shit. And just have it be the only true heterosexual.
Dude, allow me. Yeah, say no more. Our media department will create the meme that you just described.
Beautiful.
Done.
Yeah, but there was a ton of debate, though, because of that. Because it fostered this sort of egalitarian environment, there was a ton of debate over what should be done. Even on the audio tapes, you can hear a little bit of dissent, but Jim Jones is holding the tape recorder, though, so as soon as people start complaining, as soon as there's a convenient place to cut, he cuts.
This guy's finger on the pause button.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yep.
You can hear the tape go
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Bastard.
And you hear it come back on, and then it's I know Dad's always been taking care of us. I love you, Dad. I'll kill 1 million CIA people. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. But there's this lady that's we have got to try to get to the Soviet Union. We've got to try to escape. She won't stop. So there's a bunch of people who are don't want to do this. But he basically tells them there's no time. There's no time. We could try to escape, but there's no time. They're on the doorstep. Why aren't you listening to me? They're coming now. Like a lot of stuff like that. And after a while, he just kind of makes the decision. Like, it's suicide. It's happening, and it's happening now. The first person to receive the poison when they were all lined up just like they'd rehearsed was actually an infant girl. They used a syringe with the needle removed to squirt it into her mouth and then administered the poison to her mother in the same fashion.
And they would take, after you got your dose, they would just kind of walk you off to like a tent so no one could see you die.
Oh, well, they made that decision after it started happening, and
people were starting to like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, when the first few people started feeling the effects of the cyanide, because cyanide, it doesn't take 45 minutes like the drill. It takes about 5 minutes after cyanide, you're done. So it's not like these people have a ton of time to like go find a place in the jungle. Like, they take it and they're dropping. And there's plenty of, it's 1978. There's plenty of photographs to go look at. There'll be some in the show notes too.
If that's your thing.
Yeah. But I mean, it will help you understand this.
It may be your thing if you're listening to our show regularly.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah, but eventually they start moving the people out of sight, like kind of around the corner. But I mean, there's a lot of people we're talking about, so there's no way you're going to escape from like the screams and the coughing, the puking and the moaning and just the dying. It's everywhere. On the tape, you can hear Jones saying things like, "Die with a degree of dignity. Lay down your life with dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear. I don't care how many anguish cries. Death is 1,000,000 times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight."
Damn. Judges? That was awesome.
Thank you. That's as close as I can get to Jim Jones, but those were words that he was saying as his, flock, as his children were willingly killing themselves for him. I'm sure he was just fucking rock hard. Fucking psychopath.
Are you talking about his, like, he works out? Like, he does a lot of gym time?
No, I'm saying that
his penis is fully engorged with blood?
Yeah, the murdering had caused the vessels in his penis to fill with blood and stiffen as a sign of sexual arousal or satisfaction.
Gotcha. That kind of rock hard. Got it.
Consult your high school health books.
So, everyone dies of Kool-Aid poisoning.
918 people.
Except for one.
Yeah, of course. Even Jones, with this like great commune, he can't be like the normies because he either shoots himself or instructs a different follower to shoot him in the head.
He had someone else do it, I heard.
Yeah, I from my reading, it seemed like it might be up in the air. But yeah, even Cowardly couldn't do it himself. Had to get him command one of his, underlings to do it. But yeah, couldn't go out like the normies with the drinking the Flavor Aid. He had to shoot himself. Got to be different.
One thing I wanted to just fill you in on was, I don't know if you knew about this, but Jim Jones had a 19-year-old son that played for like Guyana's basketball team, and his mom had like sent him off to be in a tournament like while this was going on, and it was like the last time she said bye, and like it was Jim Jones's kid, and he went and did that basketball tournament, and he knew it was gonna be the last time he saw his mother as he drove away.
Did he know?
He didn't know. No, like
yeah, he wouldn't have known.
But in this like interview with him, he was saying that if I was there, I probably would have drank the Kool-Aid and did it all. Like I was that far into it, like it was our world, and I would totally went through with it. He was that into it.
That might be interesting enough for a follow-up.
Looking back now, he's like, damn, it's crazy now. And another guy.
Yeah, I'm sure when he hears this episode, feel free to contact us. We'd love to have you on.
And another guy that had defected the temple, he went there after his wife had died. He took his 4-year-old son there to be there. He's like, nothing else, nowhere else to turn, whatever. So they went there, and then he was like, screw this place. I'm out of here. He, like you said, he had left his kid.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, freaking here I am. My kid's back there. His kid was killed.
Yeah.
Poisoned.
Yep.
Good job, Dick.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the 918 people that died there constitute the largest single event civilian loss of life of Americans pre-September 11th.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so, this was a monster deal. This was a huge deal. And I guess that's sort of the end. You're going to have to draw your own conclusions from this one. I don't know of too many lessons to be learned other than, try not to get sucked into a cult, but I honestly don't know if there's anything you can do to protect yourself. At a certain point in people's lives, I think anybody might be susceptible to be getting caught up in this. And I'll just say, look out for your friends and your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, try to take care of one another. Don't let each other get caught up in this shit, because then you end up drinking the Kool-Aid.
I want to say this. You're talking about look out for your friends and family. And also, maybe there's a musical artist that you're very fond of. They're coming to town. You're on the fence about whether you should go see them or not. Go see them.
Yeah, go see them.
Go see them. You might not ever have that chance again, the way our frontmen and our artists are passing away these days.
Yeah, because sometimes they don't make it back out of your town.
Frickin' a couple weeks back, Chris Cornell passed away after playing in Detroit. It's nuts.
Yeah. We've got one more. One little cherry on the top that happened after Jonestown to leave you with today.
What?
There was another kind of the closest town to Jonestown was called Georgetown. And there was also sort of like an administrative temple area there, because there was no communication to the outside world from Jonestown, so that everything had to come in Georgetown.
Yeah.
Now, in the early evening of November 18th, the day that it happened, at the headquarters in Georgetown, temple member Sharon Amos received a radio communication from Jonestown instructing the members at the headquarters to take revenge on the temple's enemies and then commit revolutionary suicide. She killed her 2 youngest children with a knife. Then she had her oldest daughter help her cut her own throat. And then the eldest daughter killed herself, closing out that shitty nightmare family death spiral.
Fucking bullshit.
Like, I can't imagine a scenario that would drive me to something like that.
So if you can think of a scenario that would drive you to kill your sibling, your closest loved ones,
feel free to tweet at us.
So I was let's try to end on a lighter note here. We're talking about children's slicing throats.
Mm-hmm.
So we covered a cult. Yeah.
Again,
Jim Jones is
another
a cult leader. Yeah. We talked about the Nazis. I'm just kidding.
Which is kind of culty.
Yeah.
Then we hit him with the Pythagorean school, which was cult.
Cult. So we just did that cult. Now we're doing back-to-back cults. We're going from Hitler, Nazis, to the math nerd cult.
Yeah.
To this cult. We're just cult crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a cult out there that you want to hear us talk about and discuss and give a good dinner in hell treatment, let us know on social media.
And there are any number of ways in which you can do that. Probably we're most active on Twitter, so feel free to tweet at us. We're at Dinner in Hell Pod. You can always email us at dinnerinhellpodcast@gmail.com. We are at dinnerinhell.com. We are also on Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher. You name it, go to some weird Russian site, our shit's probably on there.
Yeah, it's weird. Google Dinner in Hell podcast and go to like page 8 of the results, and you'll see us on like Russian YouTube.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So please don't forget to rate and subscribe on any of those services that let you do that. And thank you so much for listening to the show.
Thank you to the frickin' band.
Oh, they are on fire.
Always on fire. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they sound identically as awesome as they always have.
Here's a little tidbit of information. The audience here realizes this, but you may not at home. But we removed the batteries from the smoke alarms before we go on because the band will freaking set it off.
It'd ruin the recording every time.
Yeah, the smoke from their sound alone, the heat that they emit. The audience, though.
Oh, they've been really kind tonight.
Well,
thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for being here so I'm not sitting here by myself talking about this bullshit. This awfulness. Brad?
Dinner in Hell loves you. Have a good night.